The maritime geography of the Middle East was fundamentally rewritten on March 16, 2026, as the U.S. Navy executed a maneuver of unprecedented scale. Moving with a speed that bypassed traditional diplomatic warnings, the USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN 78, and the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN 72, converged in the North Arabian Sea to form a dual-carrier strike force that has effectively placed the Iranian coastline under a total military eclipse. This isn't merely a patrol, it is a tactical asphyxiation of the Iranian regime's maritime reach. The shockwaves hitting Tehran are driven by the realization that their territorial waters have been transformed into a high-tech kill box, where every IRGC movement is tracked, targeted, and neutralized before it can clear the harbor. The dual-carrier Hammer and Anvil. The presence of two nuclear-powered aircraft carriers allows for a constant cycle strike rhythm. While the Lincoln focuses on deep strike missions into the Iranian heartland using its F-35C Lightning II squadrons, the Ford, the flagship of the fleet, is utilizing its revolutionary electromagnetic aircraft launch system, EMALS, to maintain a blistering sortie rate. Carrier Air Wing 8, CVW, 8 operating from the Ford. These crews are specializing in armed reconnaissance. Using the F divided by a -18E divided by F Super Hornet, they are hunting for mobile coastal defense batteries that have attempted to hide among civilian shipping containers in ports like Bandar Abbas. E-2D Advanced Hawkeye. Orbiting high above the fleet, these eyes in the sky are managing the most complex air-sea battle space in history. They are networking with Aegis destroyers to create a cooperative engagement capability that makes the carrier strike groups virtually untouchable by Iran's aging ballistic missiles. The destroyer screen, the Tomahawk Tide. Surrounding the carriers is a lethal perimeter of Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, including the USS Spruance and the USS Michael Murphy. These ships have transitioned from escort duty to being the primary source of precision attrition. In the last 48 hours, these destroyers have unleashed a Tomahawk Tide, hundreds of cruise missiles targeting the IRGC's naval infrastructure. The Bushehr naval base has been effectively cratered, and the regime's main ammunition depots for its anti-ship missiles have been turned into secondary detonation zones. The shock in Tehran stems from the realization that the U.S. Navy is not waiting for a provocation. It is proactively erasing the Iranian Navy's ability to even put up a fight. The clean sweep of the Strait. The most critical task for the fleet is the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. After Iran's desperate attempts to choke global energy markets with naval mines and swarm tactics, the U.S. Navy has initiated the Clean Sweep Protocol. Navy MH-60S Seahawk helicopters, equipped with laser mine detection systems, are leading a path through the choke point, while AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters from the nearby USS Tripoli provide a protective umbrella. The IRGC's Mosquito fleet of fast attack craft, which once bragged about swarming American carriers, has been decimated. Any vessel that displays a hostile radar signature or moves toward the shipping lanes is met with a Hellfire missile or 20mm cannon fire before it can get within 5 miles of a commercial tanker. The economic strangulation. The presence of the fleet has done more than just destroy military targets. It has established a maritime blockade 2.0. U.S. Navy boarding teams, supported by drones, are now intercepting any vessel suspected of carrying dark market, oil, or sanctioned spare parts for the IRGC. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth noted that the Iranian economy is now on a ventilator, and we have our hand on the plug. By controlling the sea lanes, the U.S. has cut off the regime's last remaining revenue stream. The shock in the streets of Tehran is visible as fuel prices skyrocket and the reality of total isolation sets in. This steel fist of the Navy is proving that you don't need to occupy a city to control its fate. The high-tech edge, laser defense, and electronic warfare. One of the most significant shocks for the Iranian military has been the failure of their drone swarms. In previous years, the IRGC believed they could overwhelm a carrier's defenses. However, the USS Gerald R. Ford and its escorts are reportedly utilizing the latest optical dazzling interdictors, Odin, and high-energy laser systems. On March 14th, A massive swarm of over 50 Shahid-style drones was launched from the Iranian coast toward the Lincoln. Within minutes, the fleet's electronic warfare suites had jammed the GPS signals of half the drones, while the remaining were picked off by laser fire and rolling airframe missiles, RAM. Not a single drone came within sight of the carrier's deck. This absolute technological disparity has shattered the morale of Iranian naval commanders, many of whom are now reportedly refusing to follow orders to engage. A paradigm of naval supremacy. The mobilization of this armada serves as a definitive statement on the future of maritime conflict. By parking 2 cities' worth of destructive power on Iran's doorstep, the U.S. has effectively bypassed the need for a slow, traditional build-up. The Navy has proven that it can deliver more firepower from the sea than most nations possess in their entire terrestrial arsenals. As the sunset reflects off the flight decks of the Ford and the Lincoln, the horizon for the Islamic Republic looks increasingly dark. The sea of fire that the regime once promised to unleash upon the U.S. Navy has instead been turned inward. The Iranian leadership now finds itself watching from their coastal bunkers as their maritime legacy sinks beneath the waves, replaced by an ironclad American presence that shows no sign of departing. This is the new standard of power, a silent, overwhelming force that dictates the flow of global commerce and the survival of nations from the crest of a wave. The strategic fallout of this naval saturation extends far beyond the immediate tactical victories. By maintaining this posture, the U.S. Navy has effectively rendered the IRGC's anti-access/area denial, A2/AD, doctrine a historical footnote. The technological gap is no longer a hurdle for Tehran. It is an impassable canyon. While Iranian planners once envisioned a war where they could utilize the geography of the Gulf to trap a superpower, they now find that same geography being used against them. Every inlet and rocky outcrop that once hit a missile battery has been cataloged by Aegis-equipped destroyers and silenced by persistent drone overwatch. This total maritime dominance creates a vacuum of power that the regime simply cannot fill. With their coastal defenses shattered and their ability to threaten international shipping neutralized, the Iranian military has lost its primary lever of international blackmail. The strategic fallout of this naval saturation extends far beyond immediate tactical victories, reshaping the regional balance of power. By sustaining this posture, the U.S. Navy has effectively neutralized Iran's A2/AD doctrine, turning it into an obsolete concept. The technological disparity now acts as a decisive barrier. Geographic advantages once relied upon by Iran have become liabilities, as advanced surveillance and precision capabilities ensure constant monitoring, limiting concealment, restricting maneuverability, and reducing the effectiveness of asymmetric strategies.